Hi everyone, this is Sam Cry the Heart and I'm back with a pretty long video. So I was having some technical difficulties, so I'm actually going to be inserting some of my Copic coloring in here because I was trying to do some Copic coloring with me videos and I just had some problems. So I didn't want to lose out on showing you guys some of the coloring, so that's going to be interspersed in this video. So I'm doing a lot of Valentine's Day. I'm showing this all around the town hearts stencil from Tailored Expressions. Most of the products are from my new order from Tailored Expressions. And this is a really fun stencil. So I'm going to start off though showing you guys some gingerbread house cards that I turned into Valentine's Day cards. So this was some items that I had gotten that I didn't get to use for Christmas. And I really wanted a chance to use some of my products that I got for the holidays, and I just didn't get a chance to use them. So I did get this gingerbread house stamp and die. It's called Gingerbread Lane, super cute. And I also used a new 3D hearts embossing folder, and I just inked it up a tiny bit with some white pigment ink, and then I colored in my Copics and colored them out, and then used this really cute sentiment to kind of give you that Valentine's Day vibe. So I got to use those. That was exciting. I'm also going to be using another holiday product that I had gotten and didn't get a chance to use in this video also, aside from the new Valentine's Day stuff that I got. I just kind of trying to use as much stuff as I can. So this is the stencil, and it comes with another stencil. It's an around the town layering stencil, and then it comes with a die, and those little all around the town layered stencils, they make these little images that you could then use the die to cut out, and then you can decorate your little town, because this stencil gives that sort of town or map kind of look, much like the greetery. I shared some videos using the greetery, I forget what they call them, but they are very similar, and I definitely think I can mix and match with those. And I think they're going to come out with some other, Tailored Expressions is going to come out with some things that go with this product line, because it's pretty fun. And there you can see a little bit of that layering stencil, and then, you know, the die. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you the projects that I made with it. I had another video where I had done all of the layering on camera, and that got, like, didn't work out for me. So that's okay. I'm going to show you the projects. No worries there. So some other items that I am using in this video is the Home for the Holidays. It's a stencil and die. Also, there's a foiling product that goes with it. And I had gotten this before Christmas and didn't get a chance to use it. So these can be used year-round, or at least in the winter, because they do have a winter vibe to them. And there is a tree that could be a Christmas tree. But other than that, I think it just, you could just use it, I think. But it does have that kind of wintry vibe. And then I'm just cutting right now to my coloring video before I share the project that I made using this winter Anya. And so I'm just going to kind of show you how I color. These are the 3 colors I'm using for hair. I tend to use 3 colors mostly when I color images. Sometimes I do 2, usually because I might not have a good 3rd color, or because the space is very small. And I like to start with the darkest color first, which I believe in this case is the E79. And I know some people do it the opposite. They do the lightest color and then they build up to the darkest color. I like to start with the darkest color and go down to the lightest one, and then I'll go back to the darkest one. And so for this one, I'm imagining that Anya has a part in her hair in the middle. And so I'm going to flick kind of what I think the direction of her hair is. So I kind of flick up and I kind of flick down towards sort of the, I guess it would not quite be the middle, but the middle of that image that I'm kind of flicking. And so I just kind of just do that with my darkest color, and it's going to look like a little bit of a hot mess until it doesn't. And I don't mind my hair being a little bit messy, because I think once the ink completely sort of dries, it looks really, really good. I mean, you'll be surprised how nice it looks. And this is probably the easiest method. Okay, so then I go to my second color, which is my mid color, which is E77 in this case, and you could pick any 3 colors that you want to do for your hair. If you're doing browns, I a lot of times will do E29, 27, and 25. I am liking this E77, 79, 75, I think. We'll see what the other one is. But I am liking this color palette as well. And so what I do is I go over and down a little bit further of what I had colored previously. So I go over what I colored plus in between, and I pull the color further down. And so kind of what's left is little tiny spaces of white here and there. And I do that for that whole hair piece. And then I bring my lightest color, which is E74, and then I go over everything and I kind of fill in a lot of the white space. Don't tend to leave a lot of white space with the hair. And so I just do the same thing. I flick up and I flick down, and all in the direction of the hair, and I go over what I had done previously and kind of blend it out without blending it out. You know, it's kind of blended out in a kind of a softer manner. I'm not like going in there and just blending out the color. So just kind of going over what I did and kind of see my method there, and most of it gets filled in. So I can leave it like that. I think it looks really great like that. And I'm actually just going to go in with my E79. I don't always do this. And I just go over a little bit here and there, mostly at the top and the bottom. I imagine that's kind of where the darkest parts of the hair are going to kind of be. And just giving it a little bit more dimension for my hair. It will look surprisingly good when you're done. Okay, so once the hair is done, then I'm going to move on to her coat. A little bit more E79. I'm going to move on to her coat. So I'm doing the ends, I believe. I could have done the C's. I'm using the C's actually for my gnome. And so I'm actually going to be using more than 3 ends, because I'm going to be using these grays for different parts of her coat and the shoes, and kind of using different colors kind of gives, you know, gives space so it looks like it's not all one giant gray piece. So with the darkest color, which I think is N8, I am going to just be kind of doing little bits and pieces of her coat in this darkest color, mostly in the corners, along the edges, and you can see there where I put that color. And then I'm going to move on to, that was N8, I'm going to move on to my N6, I believe is what I use, and then I'm going to pull that color out. So I'm going to go over what I just did, but kind of pull the color towards the middle where the white space is. This is a very small space. And so I'm just going to kind of pull that color in a little bit, and it kind of blends it out just a bit. And I'm also, I believe, going to use, I'm going to go into my N4. And then I'm just going to fill in the coat, except for the patches on the elbows and the buttons, not really buttons, but the little closures. I'm not doing those ones in this gray. But I'm going to use this N4. I believe I'm going to be using it for the little muff, the little part near her collar. And I'm going to just kind of outline the edges of that collar in this N4. And then I'm going to pull my N2, and I'm going to do the buttons, and I'm going to do the elbow patches, and I'm going to pull that color and kind of blend out that collar piece. And you can see how you have some definition with that coat just using different shades of gray. And I will be back to do the shoes with the gray. So I'm going to go into her shirt, and I'm using R27, and I'm just doing little dots of color kind of all around the edges, and the little argyle piece I'm going to be coloring separately, so just a tiny bit. And then, so this is one of the cases where I'm only using 2 colors, and then I'm going to pull the R24 and just color that space in. I'm leaving that argyle piece in the middle. I'm going to do a different color there. And so now I'm going to do my pinks. I've got R85, and that is just going to be kind of putting a little bit of color down. And I'm actually going to use the lightest color that I've got, which is R81, I believe. And I'm going to color that in. So then I go back to my darkest color, which is R85, and I'm going to kind of outline a little bit of her pants. And then I'm going to use R83 to color that in. So for her shoes, I'm going to be using the ends for her shoes. So I'm going to do N6, and I'm just going to put little tiny dots of color, like on the heel and on the toe, and just little spots of color here and there. This is a tiny, tiny spot. And then I'm going to go in with my N2, and I'm just going to color the rest of it in, because it's tiny, so the rest of it in. Now I just have her skin left to do, and I'm using E13, E11, E00, and the thing about this is that my E13 is a little dry. I know this is a little dry, so I'm going to have to refill that. Hopefully I remember to do it next time before I go in color. So, and so the E13, it's a pretty dark color, but I'm outlining kind of her cheeks. Sometimes I'll go over the cheeks with like an R20 or an R30, but I'm not going to in this case. I think that this E13 gives her some nice color in her cheeks. And so you can see this is where I'm outlining that E13, and then I'm going to go over it with E11, and I'm going to try to pull that darker color towards the white space, and I'm just kind of pulling that color down, and I'm going to get all these little spaces. I'm doing the neck, and she has one little hand that's showing, and just kind of going over everything, but going over a little bit more. And then the E00, I'm going to blend it out and pull all that color into that white space. And just kind of blend it so that, you know, it's just a little bit of shadow. It looks, you know, it's not going to look natural. I mean, it's coloring, but just so that it looks blended out. And then there she is. So I'm not sure if this video is going to cut off and go back to the other part. But I did use some white gel pen. And I did use white gel pen on her coat, on her shoes, on her hair. And you can see how that looks right there with that finished card. There's the Winter Anya. That was a freebie that we got for spending $50 in the farmer's market. And you can see how that looks, and she came out great. So I just stamped the sentiment right on the front of the card, and I put on foam, Anya and the 2 little houses, and I think it came out great. So that is really fun. And then moving on to this other, I made some tags. Well, here's the sentiments, And I love it because I just think you can really use a lot of those sentiments aside from Valentine's Day. I mean, there are some Valentine's Day stuff, but you can use it year round. So I think that's really cool. And then, so this was a pretty cool stamp set. And what I did with this one is I stamped in Versamark and then I heat embossed with some silver embossing powder. And then I inked over it with some Distress Oxide. And then I cut it out with some tag dies. And then I put my little heart pieces on there. And so here's the clearly besotted stamp set. Super, super cute. I think it's a nice one for Valentine's Day. And I have the dies, and I am going to show you guys how I colored my images. They're super easy. They're teeny tiny, but I love how they came out. Very, very cute. So hopefully that'll pop up very soon. There's these little tags. I use the little houses. The sentiments are also from that gnome stamp set and die. And then so it's definitely fun to do tags because you can just do all these little images. But if you're going to do a technique like this, I would definitely glue the hearts after you've already die cut your paper. Otherwise they might move, it might not cut in a good spot, and all of those things. So, and hopefully it's going to pop up very soon. Waiting. Here we go. So here is my images. I'm going to color these. I'm using my Copics. I'm going to use, I think I'm only going to use 2 colors. This is BG13. And I'm just going to outline a little bit of the hat, and I am going to lower the camera in a second, so you're going to get a better look at that. So don't worry about that. You'll be able to see in a second. And so I just did a tiny little bit of flicks in each of the corner of that hat. And I'm also going to be, I think, using the BG13 on the shoes. I've decided that they're shoes and not just feet. And I just did a little bit of color underneath the beard. And then I'm going to take my BG11 and I'm just going to blend out and color in those images. Kind of like flicking the color a little bit out to kind of blend it, and then kind of color in the rest. It's kind of how I'm doing that. That's the technique I'm using. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to do the shoes. And I'm just going to kind of color those in the same way, starting with the darker color and then pulling that color out. Okay. So next, let's see what color we're going to do. We are going to do the reds. So I am going to be doing, I think it's R40, R17, and R46. So R46 is my darker color, and I'm going to be kind of just doing some random flicks, mostly towards either the bottom or the bottom that is closest to the middle of the flower, if that makes sense. I don't know the names of my flowers anymore, or the parts of the flowers. It's been a long time since I've been in school. So we're just going to go ahead, and you can see that that is where I'm putting all of that darker red. And then I'm going to take my other red, and I'm going to kind of start from the bottom and flick that color up. And in person, it looks amazing. It really comes out very nicely. And so I just kind of pull those colors in. Pulling everything out, and you can even see how fun it looks. Okay, so that's the red, and then so I'm only doing 2 colors, I think, for most of this. I think I'm just doing the YR14, I think, for that middle of the flower, and I'm just gonna go ahead and just color it in. It's just one color, so super tiny. Seems crazy to try and do multiple colors for that. I guess you could. Yes, you could, but it'd be nuts. I'm going to be doing the leaves. I'm doing G09 and G05, and I'll start with my G09, and I'll just kind of do bits of the stem, and you can kind of get an idea of where I'm putting that color. It's super tiny. I'm going to just use that lighter G05, and then I'm going to kind of blend it out and just color the rest of that image in. And it looks very nice. So now we only have a few things left to do. So we're going to do the, I think we're going to do the skin. And I'm trying to think what I used. I think I used, what is that? Oh, RE000. And then I colored it all in, the hand and the nose and everything. And then I just took that I think it's R30, and I just went over like the cheek area and the top of the nose and a little bit of the hands, just to give that different look, and I like how that came out. Now I'm going to do the beard. The beard is, I think it's C5, and I'm just doing a little bit of flicks of his beard here and there, and you'll be able to kind of see what I'm doing there. And that's it. Now I'm going to take my, so that one's C05, I'm going to take my is it C1? C1, and then I'm going to blend that out. Just pull the color from the top and the bottom, and you'll definitely be able to see those beard flicks, and that's totally fine. And is basically it. My gnome is done, and I have the dies for it, so I do cut it out. And I use those houses to make my, you can see the other one. I think I'm going to go through and use some white gel pen, especially on the flowers. I just do a little bit of gel pen here and there, and a little bit on the hat, and that just kind of brightens the flower and makes it stand out a little bit, I think. So I do enjoy a little gel pen. It's actually one of my favorite things. And really, it's how you make your images kind of pop, is to do a little gel pen. And so just to give you an idea of kind of what I do, I just kind of go in and just kind of randomly do it. I don't think about it, because if I think about it, it doesn't come out good. I just kind of fool around and just kind of randomly do it. I think it looks a lot better. It looks much nicer, and so that's kind of what I do. I just kind of go in and you just see a little bit of color, and it does make it pop. So here's the one we just did. I like to let the ink dry just a tad before I go in with my gel. But just a little bit here and there, and you just see how that looks. And so that is all my projects, and I've got a little bit of things left over. I think I'm going to show you the last one. So this is the one using that whole bundle around town hearts, where I went ahead and I stenciled the little map, and I cut it out using a scallop die, and then all the little pieces that I used that layering stencil and cut out, I then kind of put on the card with some sentiments, and I think it came out very cute. And so I have leftover pieces, so I'm excited about being able to use those leftover pieces. I threw a little bit of white ink on there, and I just think it came out really, really great. So thank you so much for watching and hanging in there to watch how to do this coloring. It's very, very easy. I think it just takes a little practice. Thanks so much for watching. This is Cindy Crane with the Heart.